What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another Pitching Ninja's filthiest pitches of the day. Remember, before we get to those pitches, hit that subscribe button. Be a part of the biggest and best daily baseball show on YouTube. And now, without further ado, here are my filthiest pitches of the day. I'm going to start with Chris Sale, who had 5 Ks in 6 1/3 innings, giving up only 1 run. This time out, we got good Chris Sale. He had this wicked slider and overpowering fastball going. And I don't know how much this has anything to do with it, but he did make a little adjustment with his feet set up. You can see he's been experimenting between going open and closed, and yesterday he set up a little bit more open. My guess is he felt that closing himself off at the beginning was impacting his command, so he went back to an open position. These little things definitely can affect a pitcher, and sometimes it's all just mental. Logan Allen had 8 Ks in 5 innings, giving up 2 runs, and Allen's sweeper was filthy, and even got himself a sword on one. He also had a nasty little splitter. A really good outing from Logan Allen. Brian Hoeing got 4 Ks in 5 innings, giving up 2 runs. And I did this overlay just to show how his fastball and slider worked off each other. Again, as a hitter, you're almost left to guess. He faced off against Justin Steele, who had 3 Ks in 6 innings, giving up 2 runs, and had this filthy slider. Josiah Gray had 8 Ks in 6 innings, giving up only 1 run, and relied mostly on his breaking balls, although his fastball was also pretty solid. I'm a big Josiah Gray fan, and he's a big Pitching Ninja fan too. Nestor Cortez had 7 Ks, but gave up 7 runs in 4 2/3 innings. Not a very Nestor-like performance. He really struggled with command, throwing only 55% strikes for the game. But he did have these nasty cutters. He battled Martin Perez, who had 2 Ks in 6 innings, giving up 1 run, and had this changeup. Drew Rasmussen only had 3 Ks in 5 innings, but had this nice little 88-mile-an-hour cutter. He faced Mike Clevenger, who looked like old Mike Clevenger, with 8 Ks in 5 innings, giving up 2 runs. I thought it looked like his slider was back. I mean, look at that. That's filthy. And he even made the Ripper do a ghost stab on this painted fastball. Colin Ray had 9 Ks in 5 innings, giving up 2 runs. I thought his sweeper looked really good, as well as his splitter or split change, getting the D-helmet on Ohtani. Opposite Ray was Jose Suarez, who had 6 Ks in 5 innings, giving up only 2 hits, thanks to his fastball, slider, and changeup. Chris Bassett had this fastball getting the sword, as well as these great slow breaking balls. He started out this game a little rough, giving up 4 runs in the first inning, but settled down, giving up no runs the rest of the way, and ended up with 7 Ks. Bassett, upset that one of his pitches was called a ball when it was a strike, went to the bench and slammed this tablet several times, varying both his grips and his arm slot. And here's an overlay of Bassett's 2 slams. This unpredictability is part of what makes Bassett so effective. Spencer Turnbull had this painted fastball and paintish fastball and had 3 Ks in 4 innings, giving up 2 runs. And he faced off against Kyle Bradish, who had 5 Ks in 4 2/3 innings, giving up 3 runs. Thanks to these wicked breaking balls, both his slider and curveball, and had this painted slider. Ken Wadochuk had 7 Ks in 5 2/3 innings. Had this fastball, this sweeper, and this auto K. I know how much we all love that. He faced Nick Lodolo, who was back to his filthy self with these ridiculous back foot breaking balls. He just does this again, and again. And when he's on, this is one of the best pitches in the game. And that pitch also plays off his fastball really well, which allows him to get fastball Ks. Alex Cobb had 7 Ks in 5 innings, giving up 3 runs. Had these curveballs and fastball. And he battled Darvish, who threw 6 innings with 9 Ks. Nice, but gave up 4 runs, which is actually pretty good in Mexico City, since the balls were absolutely flying out of there. Not only did Darvish go 6 innings with 9 Ks, but he also had this 69-mile-an-hour beautiful slow curveball. Coincidence? I think not. Darvish's fastball was up to 97 miles an hour. And I love this as he gets fired up after this 87-mile-an-hour cutter for his last K. A really solid outing from Darvish. Austin Gomber had 4 Ks in 6 innings, giving up only 1 run, thanks to these dirty knuckle curves. Jose Urquidy had this sweeper and slider on his way to 3 Ks in 5 1/3 innings, giving up 2 runs. Brady Singer had kind of a terrible outing, giving up 8 runs in 2 2/3 innings, but did have this neat twisting slider. And he battled against Sonny Gray, who was my filthiest starter of the day yesterday. Gray had 7 Ks in 6 innings, giving up only 1 earned run, and that 1 earned run raised his ERA this season to .77. Gray had these wicked breaking balls, and here are a couple of overlays that show why Gray is so effective. He tunnels his breaking balls and his two-seamer really well, and they both set each other up. In this overlay, his breaking ball off the plate gets a swing because it tunneled so well with his two-seamer that ran back to the plate. And then here, you can see a hitter lay off his breaking ball off the plate. So he follows it up with a two-seamer in that exact tunnel, which enables him to get the backwards K on a totally painted two-seamer. Gray's sequencing and tunneling is outstanding, and he leaves hitters confused. Now onto my filthiest relievers. Jason Adam had this sweeper. Ryan Presley had this nasty slider. Here's an overlay of AJ Puck's fastball and sweeper, and you can see how he uses both of those pitches in the same plane. Yenier Cano had these changeups, and he's shooting up the charts as one of my favorite relievers to watch. Alex Lang had this filthy curveball and sinker. Lucas Sims had these filthy sliders. Luis Ortiz had this nasty slider. Hector Neris had this filthy splitter. Yency Almonte had this sweeper. Evan Phillips had this sick sweeper that got the demonic laugh from the Dodgers. Matt Brash had these outrageous sliders. And here's an overlay of Brash's 98-mile-an-hour fastball with an 85-mile-an-hour slider. And that's just evil. But my filthiest reliever of the day yesterday was Joe Kelly and his ridiculous stuff. Just a crazy mix of knuckle curves and sinkers. Look at these crazy knuckle curves up to 92 miles an hour. And then a 98-mile-an-hour sinker with 21 inches of run. He even got the ripper to put Randy Arozarena on the eternal IL. That stab is going to leave a mark. One of the things that should jump out to you is how Joe Kelly uses his mechanics to throw hitters off. I mean, being able to float his leg like that and throw that filth, well, that takes a special kind of body control. I talked to Joe Kelly about his mechanics, including how he can throw so hard with that short arm path, as well as how he uses his mechanics and leg lifts to mess with the hitter's timing. And here's what he had to say.
So originally, the double, triple leg kicks were actually a mechanical cue I had, playing catcher bullpens, kind of building over the short arm path. So I guess I always had the ability to reach high velocity, but the amount of times I did it never correlated with how I thought I should. And so one off season, I went back and kind of dissected my mechanics and looked at the guys who threw, number one, the most healthy, number two, like the most true fastballs I thought were out there, and kind of with steel frame own mechanics. And I realized that boiling it down, it wasn't like people say repeat your delivery, right? Like repeat your mechanics, and that's kind of a vague term. What I noticed was at the point of, there's a power position in any kind of movement you do. So at the point of most explosive or power, however you want to put it, the amount of times they were able to repeat, I call it like the honey hole, like the sweet spot of a throw, was off the charts, right? And so I go back and look at my video and see, and it's like, man, why is my 94 there? And then as a starter, I hit a 99 there. And I go back and look, and I was like, man, that was the sweet spot of arm positioning. I was like, all right, well, now I know what it is. So how am I going to get there? And so I would just take a bucket of balls in my backyard and throw against a net of shortening my arm path, because I wanted to know where the power position was. And so I would just grab a ball and then bring my arm back. And what I realized was when I created the short arm path, I was able to hit the honey hole 9 out of 10 times.
And now, my pitching ninja moment of zen. You might remember the other day I asked if Zach Eflin hit Luis Robert on purpose. Well, we had another incident in the Rays versus the White Sox game, with Margot getting hit after Bethancourt's home run. Number one, do y'all think this was on purpose? And number two, I just wanted to point out the Rays gimp mask, which cracked me up in the middle of this tense situation.
Bring out the gimp.
I am running far away from that in any bench clearing brawl. What is up, everybody? My picks of the day today are a 3-leg parlay. I'm going to start out with Drew Smiley for 5Ks or more, and take Jose Barrios for 5Ks or more, and top it off with Spencer Strider, aka Quadzilla, for 8Ks or more. What would your picks of the day be?